Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. As we learned in Fun Islamic Facts 1, Muhammad peed while squatting. Not surprisingly, he also plucked his armpit hair and shaved his groin. Sahih Muslim 597. It was narrated from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, "The fitra," we don't really have a word for fitra, but it refers to a kind of moral order established by Allah. The fitra is 5 things, or 5 things are part of the fitra: circumcision, shaving the pubes, clipping the nails, plucking the armpit hairs, and trimming the mustache. So, Muhammad not only tweezed his armpit hair and shaved his pubes, he demanded that his followers do so, as part of fitra. Muhammad even gave his followers a schedule for tweezing their armpits and shaving their pubes. Sahih Muslim 599. It was narrated that Anas bin Malik said, "A time limit was set for us for trimming the mustache, clipping the nails, plucking the armpit hairs, and shaving the pubes. That was not to be left for more than 40 days. Muhammad, it seems, was a metrosexual. For you Muslims who are wondering if you really need to pluck your armpits and shave your pubes in the modern world when waxing is available, this issue was brought before a Sharia council. Here's the ruling. With regard to using wax instead of plucking, this is permissible. The standing committee was asked, is it permissible for a man to use wax to remove hair such as armpit and pubic hair? They replied, yes, it is permissible to use that to remove armpit and pubic hair. So, gentlemen, if you like to pee while squatting and to go to the spa to get your armpits and groin waxed, if you want a beard on top but not on bottom, have I got a religion for you. Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. Sahih al-Bukhari, number 5068. Narrated Anas, the Prophet used to go round, have sexual relations with all his wives in one night, and he had 9 wives. Sahih al-Bukhari, 5215. Narrated Anas bin Malik, the Prophet used to pass by, have sexual relations with all his wives in one night, and at that time he had 9 wives. Sahih al-Bukhari, number 268. Narrated Qatada, Anas bin Malik said, the Prophet used to visit all his wives in a round during the day and night, and they were 11 in number. I asked Anas, had the Prophet the strength for it? Anas replied, we used to say that the Prophet was given the strength of 30 men. And Sa'id said on the authority of Qatada that Anas had told him about 9 wives only, not 11. Notice 3 things about these passages. First, Muhammad had at least 9 wives at one time, even though Surah 4, verse 3 of the Quran limits Muslim men to 4 wives. If the Quran limits men to 4 wives, why did Muhammad have at least 9 wives at one time? Well, Muhammad received a special revelation, Surah 33, verse 50 of the Quran, giving him, and him alone, the right to break the 4-wife limit. How convenient. Second, Muhammad would have sex with at least 9 women and girls in one day, even though he was more than 50 years old. Today, we would call him a sex addict. Isn't it interesting that a sex addict who claimed to be a prophet conveniently received a revelation giving him more sexual partners than anyone else? Third, how did Muhammad's followers know that he was having sex with all of his wives in one day? How did they know he wasn't simply chatting with his wives? It seems that the Prophet of Islam must have been bragging about all the sex he was having, so much so that his followers could in turn brag about him having the sexual strength of 30 men. Our Muslim friends tell us that Islam is a religion of modesty. A closer look shows that Islam is a religion whose supreme role model was a sex addict who built a religion around his sexual desires and constantly bragged about his sexual exploits with women, a prepubescent girl, and his slave girls. So much for modesty. Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. In fun fact number 8, we learned that Muhammad enjoyed having sex with all 9 of his wives in one night. Not surprisingly, rushing from wife to wife during his sex marathons would leave Islam's patron saint of sex addicts covered in semen.
And she found a stain on your blanket.
Stain on my blanket, huh?
Muhammad's child bride Aisha, who's called the mother of the faithful in Islam, was honored with the never-ending task of scrubbing Muhammad's semen off his clothes.
What kind of stain was it?
Ejaculate.
What?
Ejaculate.
Ejaculate.
Not ejaculate, ejaculate.
Sahih al-Bukhari, number 232. Narrated Aisha, I used to wash the semen off the clothes of the Prophet, and even then I used to notice 1 or more semen spots on them. Sahih Muslim, number 669. It was narrated that Aisha said concerning semen, I used to scratch it from the garment of the Messenger of Allah. Sunan Ibn Majah, number 537. It was narrated that Aisha said, I often scraped it, semen, from the garment of the Messenger of Allah with my hand. Aisha was especially careful to wash the semen off Muhammad's clothes when he was heading to the mosque for prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari, number 230. Narrated Sulaiman bin Yasser, I asked Aisha about the clothes soiled with semen. She replied, I used to wash it off the clothes of Allah's Messenger, and he would go for the salat, prayer, while water spots were still visible. So, when Muhammad's followers saw wet spots on his clothes at the mosque, they knew that he'd gotten covered with semen during his nightly sexcapades with 9 women and girls, and that his child bride, the mother of the faithful, had carefully washed away the semen so that he would be pure before Allah. Welcome to Islam, the only religion whose followers are so obsessed with their prophet's bodily fluids that they just can't stop sharing stories about his child bride dedicating her life to scrubbing his semen stains. Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. As we saw in Fun Fact 8, Muhammad was known for having sex with 9 women and girls all in the same night. Due to his exploits, Muhammad's companions would brag that he had the sexual strength of 30 men. Not surprisingly, Muhammad wasn't just known as a prophet, he was also known as a tremendous womanizer. He gained such a bad reputation that some families didn't want their daughters going anywhere near him. For instance, a young woman named Layla once thought that it would be nice to marry a prophet. We read about her family's reaction in the History of At-Tabari, Volume 9, page 139. Layla bint al-Qatim ibn Adi ibn Amr ibn Sawad ibn Zafar ibn al-Harith ibn al-Khazraj approached the Prophet while his back was to the sun and clapped him on his shoulder. He asked who it was, and she replied, I am the daughter of one who competes with the wind. I am Layla bint al-Qatim. I have come to offer myself in marriage to you, so marry me. He replied, I accept. She went back to her people and said that the messenger of God had married her. They said, What a bad thing you have done. You are a self-respecting woman, but the Prophet is a womanizer. Seek an annulment from him." She went back to the Prophet and asked him to revoke the marriage, and he complied with her request. So, the unwritten rule among respectable families in 7th century Arabia was this: keep your daughters away from the Prophet of Islam. But as a general rule, if you can't trust Muhammad with your daughter, why would you trust him with your salvation? Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. Do you like to drink human blood? I don't mean wine or grape juice, I mean actual blood that's oozing out of a human being. If so, have I got a religion for you? In Qawdi Ayad's Ash-Shifa, page 36, we read, "There was also a time when Malik ibn Sinan drank his blood on the day of Uhud and licked it up. The Prophet allowed him to do that and then said, 'The fire will not touch you.' So Malik wouldn't go to hell because he drank Muhammad's blood. I guess any mosquitoes or fleas or bedbugs that bit Muhammad are going to be in paradise since they drank his blood." Something similar occurred when Abdullah ibn az-Zubair drank cupped blood. This was blood drawn from Muhammad during the Islamic practice of cupping. The Prophet said, "Woe to you from the people and woe to the people from you," but he did not object to what he had done. The Islamic scholars at Islam Q&A give a number of additional accounts. For instance, concerning this topic, there is a mursal hadith that was narrated by Sa'id ibn Mansur via Umar ibn al-Sa'ib, who said that he heard that when the Prophet was wounded, Malik, the father of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, sucked the wound so as to clean it until there was no blood and the whiteness of his skin showed. It was said to him, "Spit it out." He said, "No, by Allah, I will never spit it out." Then he went and fought, and the Prophet said, "Whoever wants to see one of the people of paradise, let him look at this man." Then he was martyred. Notice that, according to Muhammad, the people of paradise are the people who are so obsessed with him that they want to drink his blood. But don't let yet another clear case of idolizing Muhammad make us forget that Islam promotes pure reverence for Allah. Those of you who study Islamic doctrine may be wondering how Muslim scholars can reconcile drinking Muhammad's blood with Islamic dietary restrictions which forbid drinking blood. Fortunately, the scholars at Islam Q&A answer this for us. How can the scholars reconcile between what is stated about blood being najis, impure, and the idea of Abdullah ibn al-Zubair drinking the blood of the Prophet? They said, this is one of the things that applied only to the Prophet, where the ruling applied only to him and not to the rest of his ummah. The response goes on to note that some of the scholars stated that the blood of the Prophet was tahir, pure, based on the story of Abdullah ibn al-Zubair. So, whether you suck it from an open wound, drink it from a cup, or lick it off the ground, Muhammad's miracle magic prophet blood is the only blood for true Muslims. Welcome to Islam, the religion that tells you that you can't know where you're going when you die unless you drink Muhammad's blood or die while slaughtering unbelievers.